If you want your cold email campaigns to get good results, you need to know how to stand out in your prospects' inboxes. And I know this because I've sent millions of emails, and through hundreds of split tests, I found that if your reply rate isn't at least 3%, there's only 5 mistakes that you could be making. But if you can fix those mistakes, your leads will be practically forced to read your emails, your reply rates will skyrocket, and your calendar will fill up way faster. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 mistakes holding back your cold emails and give you tactical ways on how you can fix them forever. So before we dive into these 5 mistakes, I need to reframe how you think about cold emails entirely. A cold email has one real job: to feel like it was written specifically for the person reading it and to get that specific person to raise their hand and show interest to what you're saying. Most people think cold emails are about closing a deal. They're not. They're about generating direct response interest. So what does a cold email actually need to do? First, it needs to prove relevance in the first 5 seconds. They should think, this person actually knows who I am and what I'm dealing with. And second, it needs to answer the what's in it for me question immediately. Problem number 1 is the spray and pray mistake. And this is where people just basically blast the same generic message to everyone on a big list that they were able to acquire instead of segmenting it by industry, maybe company size, role, or the actual problem that they're probably facing. Too many people treat a 10-person startup the same as a 10,000-person enterprise when they're cold email, or they pitch the exact same thing to a CMO and a VP of sales. And the problem with that is that your message isn't relevant to anyone because it's trying to be relevant to everyone. Here's the fix: segment your list before you write a single email. At minimum, you need to segment it by company size, industry, of course, role. Is it a founder? Is it a VP? Is it a CMO? And even maybe location. Then what you'll do is you'll write a different email for each segment that speaks directly to their specific problems, goals, and context for that specific person. Here's what an email to a 10 to 50 person startup could look like. Hi, first name. Most founders I work with at that 10 to 30 person range hit that same wall. Outbound work great when the founder did it personally, but it completely breaks when you try to hand it off. I built a playbook specifically for this transition, and it's the same thing that we helped similar company do to go from 5 replies a week to 30 a day. Could I shoot it over? Here's the framework that I use before sending any cold email campaign. Step 1, divide your list into 3 to 5 segments. You don't need to go crazy, but just don't blast everyone with the same message. Step number 2, for each segment, answer these 4 questions. What's the number 1 pain point right now for that person? What do they actually care about most? Is it speed? Is it scale? Is it compliance? Is it cost? What language or terminology do they actually use? And what proof or value would actually resonate with them? Step number 3, we want to write a different email for each segment that speaks directly to those answers. Segment first, then write. All right, problem number 2 is what we call the generic opener problem. This is when your email starts in one of 2 ways. First, by talking about you, your company, what you do, instead of immediately addressing something relevant to them. Or second, you think that you're personalizing just because you put their job title or company name, but it's painfully obvious that you sent the same exact email to 500 people. Here's what both these look like and what I see all too often. The me first could sound something like, my name is Austin. I'm the founder of Agency U. We help agencies scale. Or the painful fake personalization, which is something like, hi, first name, as the VP of sales at company name, I'm sure you're focusing on hitting your revenue goal this quarter. I work with VP of sales like yourself. No, please stop with that. The problem with all of these approaches is that nobody cares about you yet. And mentioning their job title doesn't prove you know anything about them specifically. With the first approach, you haven't earned the right to talk about yourself. With the second approach, you can smell the mail merge from a mile away. Mentioning their job title proves that you have access to LinkedIn. Whoop-de-freaking do. And bad personalization to me is actually worse than no personalization at all, because it proves you actually just don't care and you're just sending them a cold email. You have 3 seconds to earn the right to talk about yourself, and starting with me raises signals in these people's heads that this is a mass email and this is going into my deleted folder. Here's the fix. Start with them and show you understand their specific situation. And especially since we segmented the list, this should be fairly easy to execute. Your first sentence should reference one of 2 things: something specific about their company, a recent announcement, funding, product launch, expansion, something from their website, a specific challenge their company or industry might be facing right now, something about their tech stack, their strategy, or their approach. We need to be specific. If you cannot say something specific that applies to only them, do not pretend to personalize. The good opener starts with them, and it's specific enough that it could only apply to their business or their company or what that person in that role is dealing with right now. Here's the two-part test that I like to use. Part one is the them first rule. Your prospect's company or situation should be mentioned before your company is even mentioned. If you talk about yourself before you talk about them, you've already lost because you're irrelevant. Part number two is the only them test. Ask yourself, could this sentence apply to 1,000 other companies? If yes, it's too generic. You need to rewrite it. And if no, you've got a good personalized line. Examples that would pass the test is, saw you just hired 3 SDRs based off of your last LinkedIn post. Notice that you're using Salesforce, but there's no enrichment in your tech stack. And examples that fail are, as a VP of sales, you probably want more pipeline. I saw your company wants to grow revenue. I saw you posted on LinkedIn recently. My name is Austin and I help companies like yours. The specific formula is a specific observation about them, common problem that they're likely to face. And if you nail these 2 things, then you have instant relevance. Now look, real personalization does take effort, but that's exactly why it works. And here's the thing, you can now actually do this at scale. I use a tool called Instantly to write personalized lines for my entire list. They have a built-in AI models, tons of pre-built prompts, and you can even create your own custom prompts, and it actually will pull from the prospect's LinkedIn, their summary, their job title, their website, all kinds of different data sources, so I can be genuinely relevant to hundreds or thousands of people without writing each line manually. And doing this passes the only them tests, and it makes sure that my personalization is actually relevant. All right, mistake number 3 is what I call the wall of text trap. This is when your email is longer than 80 words or has paragraphs that are more than 2 to 3 lines, please. And here's what this looks like in practice. Hi, First Name. I wanted to reach out because I've been following your company for a while, and I think there's a really interesting opportunity for us to work together. We specialize in helping companies like yours scale through outbound sales process through a combination of technology, strategy, and proven frameworks that have worked for over 200 companies. I'd love to learn more about what you're working on and see if there's a fit. Would you maybe be open to a conversation sometime, let's say next week? That's around 89 words in 1 paragraph. Here's the problem. Long emails will get immediately deleted, especially on mobile, where 60% of emails are read first. Dense paragraphs are even worse. Your prospects open your email on their phone, they see a huge block of text, and their brain goes, I'll read this later, aka never. According to Boomerang's analysis of millions of emails, messages between 50 and 125 words get the highest response rates, about 50% higher than longer emails. People aren't reading your emails word for word anyway. They're scanning, and if they can't scan in 3 seconds, they're not going to read it at all. So here's the fix. Keep it under 80 words total. Use 1 to 2 sentences max per paragraph. Do something like this. Hi, First Name. Saw you just launched the new product line. Congrats. Most brands I work with see a 20 to 30% drop in reply rates when they scale to multiple products. It's usually a segmentation issue. Would it make sense to send over the 3-step audit that we use to fix this? It takes 10 minutes just to implement on your end. That's around 50 words. Short paragraphs and easy to scan on mobile. Okay, and here is my process for keeping email short. Step 1, write your email naturally first. Don't worry about length. Step number 2, read it on your phone, pull it up on your email app and look at it. Step number 3, apply these rules. If any paragraph is more than 2 sentences, break it up. If the total email is more than 80 words, cut 30%. Remove any word that doesn't directly contribute to the core message. Step number 4 is use the drunk test. If someone couldn't understand your email in 10 seconds while drunk at a bar, it's too complicated. Simplify it. Here's the formula that I use for that. Line 1, specific observation about them or a personalized line. Line 2 to 3, the problem they likely face. Line 4 would be the offer or value prop. And line number 5 would be simple call to action, which would be offering to add some sort of value to them. Total 50 to 80 words max. And one more tactical tip, guys, is that every paragraph should be scannable on its own. Each paragraph should communicate one idea. If they only read your first line and your last line, would they understand what you're actually offering? All right, mistake number 4 is what I call the ask for a call offer problem. This is when your entire offer is, can we hop on a 15-minute call? Are you free for 15 minutes in the next couple of days? You're basically asking them to give you their time without offering them any value in return first. The problem with this is that your prospect doesn't know you, they don't trust you, and they definitely don't want another sales call. You're asking them to basically spend something, which is their time, before they're giving anything of value. And when you lead with, can we hop on a call? Their brain translates to, this person wants to pitch me and I have no idea who they are and if they can even add value to me. So the default answer is no, I don't want to jump on a call. What you need to do is you need to give them a reason to jump on a call, a reason for them to be interested in even talking to you. So here's the fix. We need to lead with value, not a calendar invite. Instead of asking them for their time, give them something valuable first. This could be a framework, a playbook, a specific case study, an audit, something that people would normally need to pay for in order to get it. This could look like saying, hey, I put together a 10-minute audit of your current cold email approach and I found 3 quick wins that could boost your reply rates. Is it cool if I send it over to you? No call required. Make your first offer something that they can say yes to in around 10 seconds without getting on a call. And once they've engaged, once they've seen your value, then you can ask for a call and they'll actually want to take it because the call becomes the natural next step. Plus, if they are raising their hand and they are interested in what you have to offer, that becomes somebody who showed intent and somebody you can actually follow up with. And that becomes, to me, a pretty warm lead. All right, the fifth and final mistake is what I call the one and done failure. This is when you send one email and give up, or even worse, you send generic just following up emails or emails that basically just add zero value. I'm talking emails like just bumping this up. Hi, still interested in chatting. Let me know if this is a better time. Hey, just following up one more time. These types of emails add zero new value and they just remind the person that you exist and that you want something from them. People are busy. And if your first email got buried, that doesn't mean that they're not interested. But lazy follow-ups, they're just going to damage your credibility even more and make the person more likely not to respond to you. Let me give you some stats because this one is pretty wild. Only 2% of sales happen on the first touch point. 80% of sales happen between touch point 5 and 12, but just 44% of salespeople give up after just one follow-up. Think about that. The vast majority of conversations happen in the follow-up, but almost half of the people quit after just one email. But again, here's the catch. Every just checking in email makes you seem more desperate and less valuable. Here's the fix. Send 3 to 5 follow-ups, but each one must add new value or you have a new angle with the offer that you're trying to get them to raise their hand for. Every follow-up should be able to stand alone as basically a valuable email, never just a bump or a circle back. Follow-ups aren't about reminding them that you exist. They're about giving them another reason to reply to you. A good follow-up sequence could look like this. After you send the first email, you could say something like, hi, first name, one more thing, just ran the numbers on similar companies' campaign. The one thing that drove 90% of the results was segmenting by region in the first line. Sounds simple, but it took their reply rate from 3 to 14%. Happy to share the breakdown for you. And another angle is the free value. Last one from me, first name. If timing's off, I totally get it, but figured I'd send this over regardless. Here's a link to the playbook. It's the exact step-by-step process that a similar company used that you can implement on your own. No call required. And if you end up using it and you want to chat, I'm around. So the framework that you can use is email 1 could be the value offer, where you could offer like a case study or playbook or an audit of some sort. Email 2 could be additional insight or some data on specifically how you've been able to help other companies. Email 3 could be the social proof angle with a similar company. And email 5 can just be giving them the free resource with no strings attached. Most people give up too early or follow up too lazily. And if you do this right, you will improve your reply rate from just the follow-up sequence alone. Now, if you want to see what this looks like to put all of these techniques into practice, then click on the video on the screen to check out the next video where I use all of this in a real scenario and I go over everything that you need to do step by step live on screen to use cold email to grow your business. We'll see you on that one.